about your background, so the esteemed audience gets to know the real Dan Gutman, whatever that means. But during that 15 years when you were working on newspaper articles, screenplays, books for adults, anything else, what kind of stuff were you writing, and why do you think it wasn't working? And also, what did that teach you about writing?
Yeah, part of it was that my topic was computers. I got my start. I used to edit a magazine about video games. This is back in the Pac-Man days, back in the early 80s. And so when I was editing the magazine, you kind of, when you're working on a magazine about a particular topic, people view you as an expert in that particular field, even though I really wasn't an expert in video games or computers. So when the magazine went out of business and I started writing on my own, I was an expert in video games and computers. So that was my natural source of income. I was going to magazines and publishers that were interested in that particular topic. The problem is I didn't know anything about video games and computers. And I was I was an imposter. I was a fraud. And I was trying to write newspaper articles and magazine articles and books and all, but I didn't know what I was talking about. And I wasn't authentic. And so I think that's why I was not successful in that field. And it wasn't until I switched and started writing about sports and started writing about things that interested me that I got better at my craft, and people viewed me as somebody who was a good writer. So I just got rejected a million times when I was trying to write about topics that didn't really interest me. So I guess the lesson is that, you should really follow your natural bent, and whatever really fascinates you, that's what you should write about.
So when did the light go off that, hey, I should try writing for children? What brought you to that?
Well, two things. I mean, first of all, of course, the things I was doing for adults were just not successful, and I was not earning a living. And that's a good motivation to try something different. But the bigger thing was my son was born. My son, Sam, he was born in 1990. And, when you have a young kid, you start reading with them. And I started reading children's books with my son for the first time since I was a kid. And I'll show you a picture of my son, by the way. I'll show you a picture of my family, actually. That's my son, Sam. He's now 29 years old on one side. And my daughter, Emma, on the other side. She's 24 years old. And my wife, Nina, in the middle. And so I started reading with Sam and thinking like, gee, nothing else is working for me. Maybe I should try writing for kids. And as soon as I started writing for kids, Rob, I felt like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I should have been doing all along. So then I switched to writing for kids, and I've been doing it ever since 1995-ish, I'd say.
So what was the difference? Was it easier for you to write, or just more satisfying? How did you know that this was the one?
All those things. I related better to the audience. I kind of have the brain of an 8-year-old myself, I think. So I just naturally feel comfortable. Like if I'm in a group of people, say a cocktail party situation, I'm completely uncomfortable, I notice, But if I'm sitting around at a table at a school with 10-year-olds or 11-year-olds, I feel completely natural and completely at home. And the conversation feels very easy and honest, whereas I'm completely self-conscious, I find, when I'm in a situation with grown-ups. So I just relate well to kids. Not in a Michael Jackson kind of way, but,
No, it makes sense. I sometimes wish I was chatting with children when I find myself in a group of all adults, especially if it's a writers conference and I'm chatting with my tribe. That's different. I love talking to writers, but like my wife's in the tech sector, and so we'll go to this big event every year. It's called the Mira Awards, and it's a bunch of folks in tuxedos. It's nerd Oscars, and they give each other trophies for different computer innovations.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that the fastest way to discourage people I don't want to talk to me is when they ask me, what do you do? I just say, I write for children. I say, okay, well, it's nice meeting you. All right, bye. But everybody's networking and everybody is putting on that smile, and they're all talking about how you have to work out to keep yourself in shape when you're spending so much time on this, and also make sure there's time for charitable donations and make sure that you're giving back to the community and blah, blah, blah. And that's why I'm a great person. And
Yeah.
you look at him like, I bet you spent last weekend with Netflix, didn't you? Come on.
Yeah. I feel completely comfortable talking before a group of 200, 300 kids at a time. But if I had to speak to the same number of grown-ups, I'd get really nervous and uptight, I should say. And I think a lot of children's book authors feel the same way.
Yeah, I think a lot of writers are at least partially introverted to begin with. And so I know for me, if I'm doing anything terribly extroverted, I'm going to have to spend whatever the amount of time was that I did the extrovert time. I need the exact same amount of time alone to recuperate and feel like me again.
Sure, me too. Absolutely.